Hi, I'm Debbie Harper, and welcome to my homestead. I figured this is January 2nd, 2023, and what better way to start than maybe doing a little introduction in case anyone stumbles across this channel. My new friends that have started watching this channel, just to kind of give you an idea where we are and how we got here. I recently just retired from working as an accountant in a California firm. I was a partner there, and I was with that company for 22 years. And where I live now, I live in Montana, in the southwest of Montana, and I never planned on leaving California originally. Growing up, we lived in a great area with great church family, and we just were, I have a family of four, so we were just always camping and traveling. We used to just camp in California all over the beaches, the mountains, and as it just got busier and busier, we started going more into the mountains and less into the beaches, just because it's so hard to get campgrounds there. And when you have a good sized family, it's pretty affordable to have family vacations and travel and just be in the outdoors. We've always really enjoyed that, and hanging out with the kids. But it got more crowded at the beach areas. It was more like concert tickets to get a spot, so we started going more and more into the mountains. And I remember wanting to, at one point, plan some family trips to other countries. I really wanted to explore more and take our family on these trips to go check out other countries. And I remember David, my husband, said, we're not exploring other countries until we explore our own country. And that's kind of what started our long family trips. So we ended up buying a motorhome, and every year, as we got more established at work, we had more vacation time, and every summer we would just go longer and longer. We would travel from California to our first trips were like national park trips. So then we used to explore all the different national parks one year, and that was like 2 weeks maybe. And then one year we would do I don't know, like the 40 would go from the 40 from one side of the country to the other side of the country. And I had this road trip book that was pretty cool and gave you different routes from north to south all the way across the country, and then from east and west all the way across the country. And one of our biggest trips was when I just had my third child, and I happened to be on maternity leave. Obviously, for a long time, it was the first time I was really going to get a long maternity leave. Most of my maternity leaves were a week or 2 weeks at the most. So we were going to take 3 months, and my husband was a fireman, or is a fireman, and he was able to get trades and get a long extended time. And we went with another family and my dad, and we went from California. We took the Route 66 trip, and we traveled all up and followed Route 66. And we ended up that year going to Washington, D.C. At the end of our trip, we cut north and went to Washington, D.C. for 4th of July, and we spent a week in Washington, D.C., and that was one of the best trips we've ever had. And that was probably the longest trip we ever took, and ever since that we were stuck. Every year we always took a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks of vacation over summer as soon as the kids got out, and we just explored. And we did that for many, many years, and probably I would say when I was probably in my 30s, and we were talking about, like how amazed we were and how beautiful the country was. And our kids were getting bigger. I have 2 grown children right now. And when they were probably in their late teens, looking forward into going to college, and just how expensive everything was getting and how hard we were working to survive, And we lived a great life. We had, kids survive, but just looking at from the time that we were young to the time that they were going to be young adults, would they ever be able to buy anything here in California? And that probably was the first time that we ever started even like thinking the opportunity or the option just to leave. When you are born and raised, and I have a big family, and we always are very close. My sister lives right down the street from me when I lived in California, and she always has, and we were very close, tight-knit family. But just having our eyes open to how beautiful this country is, I don't know, it just stirred something in our spirit just to consider. And we probably looked at different states. From then on, it was like a mission. We always wanted to see a different state. We were trying to hit all 50 states and just explore and see how beautiful every state is and what they have to offer. And at one point, probably I would say like 10 years before we were considering retiring, and we always wanted to retire early. David and I were married at a young age at 21, and had our first kid at 22. And we always, from the moment we met, when we were really young, 16 is when I met him, we were always planning our life and retirement. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. I mean, I know that we both were inspired to work really hard, but we also wanted to have, I guess we're goal people. We always wanted to have a goal, and that was our goal, was to retire at 50. So we ended up probably 10 years before that, really, it might have even been more, really looking at different states and just seeing what those things had to offer. And we looked at many states to live in, like Tennessee, Texas, Arkansas. I thought was one of the most surprisingly beautiful states I've ever been to. It's so beautiful there. We looked in Indiana, we looked in Wyoming, and just still on a hunt. And I remember in 2018 we were going to visit family, and we were doing just a long PCH trip. So we were taking PCH from all the way at the bottom of California, and we were going to take it all the way up to Washington. And that was a great trip, and we did that. And we had friends that lived in Montana, so we decided we were going to cut across and then come down and visit with them on our way home. And so they always were saying, don't buy anything until you look here, until you've come and visited. And so that year, I remember just looking at property. I looked at homes. There wasn't anything that really struck me. So we decided, well, why don't we just get properties? We're still a good way away from retiring, because I think at that time we were retiring in 2024 was the plan. And it was 2018. We're like, well, maybe we can just get some land and see how that works out, and see, maybe we can just buy some property. And if it doesn't work, it could be an investment or something. And so we came and visited with them, and we did look at all of that property, and nothing really inspired me or struck me as someplace that I wanted to build a home. And we were here I think we were here for about 5 days, maybe a week. And in the middle of our trip, this one house came up on the market, and I showed it to my friend, and then immediately they called their realtor, who was a good friend of theirs, and all of a sudden my husband was on the phone with the realtor and was gonna go look at this house. So, and there was actually quite a few houses. There was like 3 houses that they had that was kind of similar once they could find that. And so I was just like, oh my gosh. So then we went and looked at 2 houses and didn't really like them at all. And then we ran across this house where we live now, and all of a sudden it just felt perfect. It felt very similar to the home we had in California. So as far as the layout, it was here that almost everyone has basements. So it was, larger. It was a built out basement. But the top part of it was cozy. I wasn't looking for a monstrosity big home. I wanted big enough that my family could be here all together, but I didn't want a house that it was going to take me the whole month to clean and I would just recycle over and over again. So, and it's the actual entrance and the mix of what my husband wanted. He really wanted trees as opposed to a flat open area. I wanted a really long driveway, which it has a long entrance, and it's pretty secluded, but not so secluded that you don't know your neighbors. And so that's where we ended up. And I said immediately when we were finished walking around, I said, yep, this is the house that I wanted. And my husband's like, oh, okay. And we put on an offer and we signed paperwork. We had to come back, and the house was ours in August. We flew back and brought all the children because none of them were seeing it. So we brought the kids here and we all flew here, and I signed the paperwork. And now we live in Montana. So it was a big move, and we really weren't planning on moving to California. We still planned on staying in moving to Montana. We still planned on staying in California and just leaving the house here and coming and visit. And that's what we did the first year. We just kept coming back every 3 weeks, and the more time we spent here and going back to the chaos. It's just very busy. It is very busy and very stressful, and I don't think you realize it until you get out of it. And the more we did that, and my kids were going to be getting out of college soon, and I said, I just think maybe we need to move before they get out of college, so that way they start their new life out of school in Montana. And so I had to talk with work, and that was tough, and be a remote person. And we decided that we were going to move the next summer. So in 2019, we moved everything up here, and we were going to travel back to California for work. And that was really tough. My husband was a fireman, and he would have to go back and try to work his schedule. And he flew back a lot. And so I was here alone a lot with the kids. And I worked remote, which at that time it was pre-COVID, so it wasn't as common as it is now. But I really think it was just the Lord working its way, and it ended up being very feasible for us to do that for a while. And then COVID hit, and I homeschooled my kids for a while. Everyone ended up being remote, which actually made work a little bit not easier. Obviously, I didn't have to travel and coordinate with David's schedule because we would be flying back and forth. And sometimes as he was flying in, I was at the airport ready to fly out, and he had to run home and be back in time to pick up the kids from school. So that was a little crazy. But once COVID hit, it kind of slowed everything down. My husband, being a first responder, obviously didn't slow him down at all. He was very, very busy. And then as things started to get more normalized, I feel like because our jobs were based in California, things started picking up a lot more. And so it was getting a little bit back to normal, and we were going back and forth. And I just think that whole perspective, I think for a lot of people during COVID, just kind of changed. And all through that time, we met a few friends here. One Thanksgiving, my birthday's around Thanksgiving, David built me a chicken coop, which we didn't know anything about animals or farm animals or anything. And I was like, okay, yeah, we can get a couple chickens and have some eggs and figure that out. Well, and then just like all stories end up, more chickens, and then ducks, and then geese, and then turkeys, and now I have goats, and I have sheep, and I hope to one day have a cow and some pigs, and it just evolved from there. The more I learned about gardening, this area had a really big garden, which I'll show you. The more I was just inspired of something new. I love learning new things. I love reading books. I like studying them. I like teaching them. And I kind of developed that in my job to where now it's like just my life. I love just all the different things that I'm learning here. And I think a lot of people are probably in that same boat. It really didn't have anything to do with COVID for me. It was just something in my soul that stirred it, and I just followed it. I just followed what was stirring, whether I knew what the end was going to be, which I didn't. But I'm loving. I love where I live. I love everything that I do. And finally, just as things got more calm and we had time to reflect and spend more time actually gardening and farming and learning those things, I think the more our soul and our heart was full for David and myself. And we just kind of sped up our retirement. Living here, I'm learning to, I'm an accountant, obviously. So I'm the budgeter. I'm conscious of money, and there's so much that you can do to reduce your expenses. I'm a simple person. I don't need a whole bunch of expensive things. I never have. And so in my heart, if I could reduce some costs as far as like how we live and cooking and all of those things and raising our own food, and I really think that our food economy or the food industry here in the United States has weakened, and the more that I learn, the easier I think it is actually just to do things on your own, whether it's something super small. And I don't know, if you have a small patio of just growing some produce, I think that's healthier for your mind and healthier for your soul, and obviously healthier for your body because you're growing it yourself and you know what you put in that food. And I'm not a worrywart on those types of things, but I just think educating myself in those things have just started a new fire in my heart that I just want to explore and provide for my family, and then share it with my children, show them that they can survive. I think independence, not so much like the independence of the world, or I don't want to live without electricity and all those things, or think the world's going to end. But at some point, when you have those tools in your toolbox, you don't fear anything, nothing. I'm not worried about my family and feeding them and providing for them. And now with how crazy it is so much cheaper to do it on your own, really. In my perspective, maybe it's just the way that I do it, but it is a lot cheaper. I can't even tell you the last time I bought meat at the grocery store. It's been over a year. So if we could just figure that stuff out, I think you won't have to chase the dollar. And that's what I never wanted for my family. I don't want them to chase the dollar. I want them to enjoy each other and to enjoy their family and to enjoy the world that we live in, that God put us in. And I think it's just beautiful. And when you simplify your life, I felt like we were happier. We're so much happier now, just waking up and feeding the animals and figuring out what we're going to make and looking in our freezer and cooking it ourselves. And now I want to learn. I'm retired now. I can learn more things, like more baking and cooking and all those things that I can do for my family on a slower pace. And so I can't wait to do that. And I'm happy that this is our new adventure. So we'll see where this year takes us. And hopefully I can just record it and share it with my family and friends to hopefully inspire them. I'm not saying that anyone needs to go out and live in a rural area like we do, but just starting with anything. I don't know. Baking your own bread or growing your own herbs in a pot that you can use. Spices are so expensive, and growing spices is actually very easy. So teaching how to do that and just, dry them and grind them up yourself, and you'll be so surprised how everything tastes so much better. And it's just an interesting thing to learn. So that's where we are today. Who knows what we'll be next year, but I'm hoping that I get to share it with everyone out there and maybe learn more things from other people and share them with others and inspire people just to simplify their life. I think that's really just the goal. I think looking and spending money on the glam isn't necessarily where God intended us to be. So that's just where I am, and I hope more people get inspired to just live the way God intended us to live. So let's share a little bit, and I'll take you around our homestead to where you can see where we live and how beautiful it is. And one is obviously this view. When we first came out here, and you'll probably see lots of pictures that I send out here, is this view because it is very beautiful. You can see. So I spend a lot of time out here. But let's take you around and show you our homestead that we live in. So this is the back of the house. And this is the back of our house. That's where I was sitting. This is the garage. And we kind of got slowed down. Oh, David's driving away. We kind of got slowed down because we had early snow. So don't judge our terrible. We're in the middle of so many things. Uh-oh. Keep going. We were trying to do so many fall projects, and we got some unexpected freeze, actually for a long period of time. And it's Miss Goat. See if I put my coffee down. And so we were having this super bad, like, polar freeze, man. And so we had to make a little this tarp. We just put some we had some cattle panels already separating some of our goats in so that they can eat, and the sheep, because the goats kind of obviously bully. It's hard to see in this sun, but this glare. So we made that for them to survive the negative 20 degrees, which they did, and they loved that. But for the most of the time, they're pretty tough. And they stay outside. There's Susie. There's Mary. She's usually right with her. So we have those two goats. We have 2 sheep. Oh no, that's Mocha, sorry. Mocha. And then we have 2 sheep, Mary and Valo, that we've kept. So they all get along, they all hang out together, but obviously the goats do dominate and push around the sheep. And there's Miss Callie, who just had babies. What's the matter? What are you looking for? Who'd you lose? What's the matter? The dogs? What's the matter? What's the matter? You checking to see if the dogs are... No? You want me to close this up? Are you guys cold? You want me to close it? Oh, you don't like the dogs. Okay. I can close it if you want. You want to get in there? They won't bother you. We had some new babies. It looks like they were playing outside, but now they're a little cold. So they're all getting warm in there. She's obviously very protective. She don't like the puppy dogs. David's working on our run. So what happened was we had a run and we were expanding it. This is my chicken coop that he made me a couple years ago. And we just bought all this wood, and we just took down a lot of the fencing here, and we were just starting to build it. Oh, Drew's driving around having a good time. My number 3 son. And then all of a sudden it snowed and it froze and we couldn't finish, so we had to put a tarp up and it was out of control. But, so he's trying to finish it right now. We just got this last week. It actually is warming up. Look at everyone's happy to be out. So it's very makeshift in here. But we have a little automatic door that opens and closes on its own, and a feeder that we just fill and it drops the food. We made some little duck houses and turkeys houses so that they come in here at night, and the chickens go in there. When it got really cold, everybody went in there except for the turkey. So I actually lost, because we took the fence down, it didn't have a top on it, which it still doesn't have a top on it. And we have some owls that come in and picked off a lot of my chickens and ducks, actually. So we had a lot more. So now we're down to 1 turkey. Yeah, hi. My cute turkey. We're down to... What? We're down to 1 turkey. We have 2 geese, 2 ducks, and about 5 hens and 2 roosters. Here's one of my roosters right here. We call him Fancy Pants. He's a black cochin. So cute. Hi, Mr. Fancy Pants. Hi, handsome. And this is my other beautiful rooster. You know what? I had up to 4 roosters at one point, and they all got along. And I don't know, I probably had about 17 to 23 at my biggest part. I'm not trying to scare you off, I'm just trying to get out. Almost 20 chickens at one point. And they all got along really great, which was nice. So David's we're making our run go all the way down to the compost pile down there. And then I think I'm going to make it go to an L and stay and go all the way along this fence line, which is my garden. And see how that goes. I have some drums for my food compost. So the other compost that's outside, you do not put food in there because I'm not a fan of mice. So I put my food compost in there, and that sucker works great. You just spin it, you put food in there, so you're not throwing any food out in the garbage. And you just put the food in here. Stays nice and moist, but you can see it just turns into dirt. I just mix it. It has air that comes through those pipes right there, and it breaks it down. And I'll put every once in a while I'll put some of the, like when I clean out the baby chicken brooders, which we don't have any babies right now, I'll put that in there and it helps compost it down even more. But I think I'm going to have the run go down this way too, because the plan is to have more turkeys, and so maybe separating them a little bit, and some ducks will be helpful to let them have more space. So I think that's what we're going to do. And this was my garden that we took down, so it's just temporary up right now, but this whole area is my garden area. David just built one high tunnel so far, and he's in the middle of building another one. And like I said, when we saw the cold weather coming, we just stopped. We had to put just that tarp up for the poor chickens and work its way. Just to actually survive. So a lot of this is just temporary that we have out, but you can totally tell we were like in the middle of so many projects when we weren't expecting that to come. And so that's our house and our little walkway. And we have about 22 acres. So this is one of our ponds. So we have a creek, which I'll see if I can drive down and show you some of that. But I have a creek that pumps up into this pond, and this pond is where our sprinklers for our top of our acreage up here. So like the top 10 acres up here is how we water and how we water the garden and everything. But obviously we can't water anything right now. And then I'll get in the, there's David with his generator, working on as much as he can. He feels bad that he didn't get it done, but it is what it is. You don't need to feel bad. So let me get in the side-by-side and maybe I'll drive you around so you can see some of the other areas that we have. This is mainly where all the animals are, but up in the front 5 acres we have some temporary electric fence that we bring the goats and the sheep out in the summertime, and hoping that to continue to do that. Go down that area, and I can show you that on the back side of our property, but this is the front side of our property. The 5 acres that we talk about a lot. head to the creek once the snow starts to melt. Maybe I'll walk down the back road. Wanted to say thank you for hanging out with us. I'm looking forward to 2023 and I can't wait to see what new is going to happen on the Harper Homestead. Thanks for now.